Good morning. This is Bob Thompson, the Watershed Section Manager of Salt Lake County Flood Control. I'm here to share the May 16th Snowpack current conditions. As a reminder, our water year begins on October 21st and continues to September 30th of the next year. Since October 1st of 2024, this map shows that Utah's precipitation has been below normal for almost all locations. Most of our precipitation comes in the form of snow, and in this presentation we're going to talk about snow in terms of snow water equivalent, which is how much water resides in the snowpack. And you can see in the basin that we live in, the Provo, Utah Lake Jordan Basin, we've had an early melt which has left us with about 40% of the snow water equivalent we would expect for this time of year. Now, when we zoom in on our exact location in the Salt Lake Valley, this is in the lower Jordan Basin. We're at about 45% of normal as of yesterday, end of day. And you can see all those dots that are located right along the Wasatch Ridge through here. All of those dots represent individual snowtel stations, and all of those dots also show snowtel stations that are losing water through snowmelt. So the overall basin, this is the Jordan Basin, all of those stations aggregate, you can see that snowpack has accumulated throughout our winter. And this black line shows how we've had kind of the stair-step accumulation with melt cycles, accumulation cycles, big melt cycles, small accumulation cycles. So you can see most of the Jordan Basin snowpack has melted out as of today. Now, looking at individual stations, this is Lookout Peak in City Creek Canyon. Lookout Peak has had a significant melt cycle that began right in the latest part of April and has continued through the early part of May. Most of the snow is gone. There's about 7 inches of snow water equivalent remaining. Harley's Canyon and the lower elevation sites have all melted off, so there's no snow water equivalent left to measure there. Mill D in Big Cottonwood Canyon has had a significant melt cycle with a bit of accumulation in this last storm, and we may actually see this bump up a bit. We've got a pretty wet storm forecast for this coming weekend, the 16th, 17th, 18th of May. Brighton, same story. Most of the snow water equivalent had completely melted off. There's been a little bit of an increase just recently, and Snowbird's followed the same pattern, but has retained a lot more snow because it's at a higher elevation and north facing. So we have had significant melt on that north-facing side with a little bit of a blip, and we should see this accumulate with this next storm, but then we're supposed to warm up next week, and we'll probably see another significant melt cycle. So our forecast, as I've stated, we have a fairly wet forecast with the Wasatch Mountains and the spine of Utah receiving a fair amount of precipitation coming up in this next storm. But our monthly precipitation remains forecast to be slightly leaning above normal, but seasonally we are definitely leaning below normal. Our temperature outlook is looking above normal for this month, and seasonally we are definitely looking above normal. And if we jump toward the summer months, we are very much looking above normal for temperature. This is the drought forecast, current conditions. Most of Salt Lake County in this region is abnormally dry. We've got no drought for the easternmost section, and there's just a tiny little segment in the southwest quadrant that is in a moderate drought. The rest of Utah is in a fairly decent drought. The good news is we are starting our summer irrigation season with reservoirs that are almost all full. Everything except Willard Bay, I think 88% is our lowest reservoir, which is really good news. And Utah Lake is also starting the season almost at compromise. It's just slightly below at about 97% capacity. And what we expect to happen for runoff, we expect runoff for all of these creeks to be on the very early end of this cycle. And Little Cottonwood Creek may actually peak in the latest part of May rather than early June. So that will be very early for that creek. But we don't expect anything to be in flood stage or anywhere near flood stage. We expect runoff to be low, very much lower than normal. That doesn't mean that the water is going to be slow. It's still going to be moving incredibly fast, incredibly cold, so definitely be safe around those waterways, but it doesn't appear to be an above normal runoff. Thank you, and if you'd like to have any more information, please refer to Salt Lake County's Runoff Ready website.